I grew up in Cornwall. That's in southwest England. It's like as far as you can go from London on the train, and it's the end of the line. I think I barely saw art in museums until I was at least in my late teens. Growing up, I didn't really have an idea of what a life as an artist would look like. I always felt like in a sort of unknown place, figuring it out, which I think was actually quite good in the end, so I could make it up. Looking at things that are supposed to behave a certain way and purposefully misunderstanding how they should be used is really important to me. The typewriter was originally a tool that created work opportunities for women, but often as a transcribing machine, so I've used it to different ends. I work in all kinds of materials, all kinds of scale. So much of my work, regardless of the medium, was just about paying attention to what was around me and collecting it and then going through some kind of editing process. And making collaborative work with people started just to become the way that I naturally wanted to work. I co-directed a film with James Price called People in Order. We populated different commonly accepted scales with people who we randomly met. The first scale was age, so there's one person of every age from 1 to 100.
16.
All these scales that govern everything about the way we live. So they're normally interior, hidden, personal things. But here that was the organizing system for the films.
99.
100. Is that it?
I've lived in Pittsburgh for 14 years. I had never been to Pittsburgh. It was a complete leap into the unknown, and I like that feeling. 5 years ago, we moved to this very small neighborhood in Pittsburgh called Troy Hill. It's kind of a unique, kind of isolated community. It sits on a cliff top, which I really love. It's the perfect place to work. I love this silver. Okay, good. Oh, thank you. My husband, Phillip Andrew Lewis, he's my primary collaborator. Working collaboratively, there's so many more skills, and you can sort of improvise.
There's a certain kind of madness to making art that feels like, what's the point? But we give one another permission, and it feels important. It's a part of our relationship and our life.
When I became pregnant, I'd only been here like a very short period of time. And I was invited to be part of this group show called the Pittsburgh Biennial. It was going to open when my child was going to be 8 weeks old. There was a lot of questions swirling around in my mind about childcare, finances, space, and time. These questions and concerns kind of became the frame for the work. It was called maternity leave.
Hello, Otto. Hello.
The baby monitor was live linked to our bedroom where Otto, my son, slept. And for the entire duration of the show, which was several months, if you were in the museum, you would hear everything that was happening in our private home. It was called maternity leave because here in the US, there is no federal standard for maternity leave. I've always worked with my everyday life, but that piece complicated the ideas of public and private and created a direction for me to work, which became an artist residency in motherhood. And I kind of reframed motherhood as materials to make work out of. And so I would work with the material of anxiety, for example. There was a very particular new scale of measurement within myself. It's an emotional scale, and I was interested in trying to sort of quantify that. I would try as long as possible to stand behind the camera. At a certain point, there was a moment where my parent mind took over from my artist mind, and I would just run and grab him, and then I measured what that distance was. Another work that I made during that time, oh, it's hard to say made, I'd noticed, was a piece called 63 Objects Taken from My Son's Mouth. He was an incredible curator. The rule to be included in the collection was that I had to have personally pulled it out of his mouth. And I had to have had a real fear that it would cause some sort of damage to him, and then it became part of the collection. The whole practice was about being visible and taking up space as a parent and artist, which is usually kind of hidden. The closer I went into something very private and personal, actually, the more it was able to connect with people. Anything I made would be put on this website. People would see the work that I'd made, and they were emailing me and saying, "This is what I've been looking for, can I do it?" I decided I had to create a frame that would work for other people to do the residency. Very quickly, people started taking part. There's a world map. Every time somebody signs up for the residency, I receive an email and add them to the map. You can navigate that map and connect with other people. We've had extraordinary experiences with our neighbors. We've been asking, like, the pizza restaurant, can we set up a temporary museum in your window? And without asking a single other question, he said yes. And that's very much been the experience of this neighborhood. What have people been saying?
Well, they just keep coming up to the window and they're looking and they're just going like this, you know, and you just have to stand there and laugh. We have very limited art exposure. It just wasn't something that you did, okay? And if it gets people talking and it just gets any kind of activity along the streets, then why not? It's been fun. It's been an experience for me, a learning one too.
Gallery closed is 2 windows, essentially, that peer into our building.
And all of the artwork that we show is designed to be seen through these windows. We're harnessing people's nosiness, nebbiness, as they call it in Pittsburgh. Our neighbors are part of our practice, as well as viewers of the work that we've installed. Hey, I'm Lenka.
My husband Joe.
Hey, Joe. So this is Dark House Lighthouse. We made the lighthouse together, and it's part of Troy Hill Art Houses. It's a permanent public artwork.
Yeah.
How many times I've come down this way and I'm looking and I'm thinking, there's a lighthouse. I have no idea.
There was a fire in the kitchen of the original house, and it burned up throughout the whole structure. So when we got the house, there was kind of a void right up through the middle of the building. This lighthouse is kind of describing a person who would live in a lighthouse and tend to it. What would they bring into this building? How would they spend their time?
This is awesome.
We just slowly started collecting objects. And through these objects, we're describing a life.
And this could be the calendar. That's probably what they had, huh?
Yeah, look at the curve in the back.
Yeah, and they've got a curvy bed.
Yeah, it's a traditional lighthouse keeper bed, so it's called a banana bed. Every lighthouse will have a different shape and diameter, so we made this one.
That's really neat.
This is
Craftsmanship.
outstanding.
This is amazing. This is incredible.
One of the ways that we work together is we just get incredibly obsessed with something. We're interested in the lighthouse as a piece of architecture, but also as a kind of state of mind. Even if you've never been to the ocean before, you know what a lighthouse is, you have a feel for it.
I think Shore Hill's a perfect place for a lighthouse.
Now I see it.
Hi, dearie.
Right. Thank you. So what's the next project?
It's called the lights going on and off. Everything stays the same, except the lights in the room go off for 1 second and on for 1 second.
Sounds good to me.
I think being an artist and making art, it's an excuse, really, and an invitation for people to take part in something that otherwise wouldn't make any sense. For all of us working as artists, you conjure a logic of the world, of the idea, and then bring people into that. If I asked them to turn their lights on and off for 2 months straight without it being art, people would say no. Early goes to school here. Our recent project is able to kind of activate the whole classroom.
Working with kids is something we've both done quite a bit. They can get behind nonsense a lot quicker, and we can sort of reach the same plane.
There is only connection in life, but we don't see it that way. You know, we see ourselves sort of isolated, and to connect with someone is a kind of effort or decision that we make. My work is just looking at those connections. It's using them, isolating them so that we can see them to create a shared experience.